Morning everybody. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We need to build a fountain, quote unquote fountain in our yard. So we're doing a beautification, and there's much more to it, but I got my crew out here working. Got the wife. So she is known as the digger. Why are you such a good digger, baby?
Oh no, genetics.
I swear her family was ditch diggers when they were back in the day. And we've got the little weeder here. So we're turning this whole area into a much more pollinator friendly area. We're gonna take this $27 planter, this $10 top, and this $11 bag of rocks. We're gonna attempt to make something out of it, and I'll show you what we're using to pump it with. So this is a billing pump, B-I-L-I-N-G. I'll put a link in the description below. So it's a solar pump. So it came with the pump, and this one's actually nice because it's adjustable. And then some extra filters, some tubing, which is gonna be very useful. Different nozzles, which I don't think we're gonna use, but we'll see what they look like, how they act. And then a solar panel. So this is what's gonna be nice about this. So our house is all the way back there, and we don't really want to run power all the way out here. So we've kind of been operating off of some solar stuff. So we've got like this floodlight solar. We've got the different audible stuff that's solar and a couple other smaller lights. So this will just kind of add to it. Now it is going to be a little bit tricky. As you see, most of this for the day is in the shade. So I don't really want the solar panel sitting out here. I'm just gonna have to figure that out. So I got a piece of screen, which I'll show you I'm straightening out right now. And then just some landscape fabric, and I'll show you what all that's all about. And basically why we're using it, because we want this thing to be two things. We want it to be functional, and we want it to kind of bring a little bit of audible enjoyment to our garden. But we also, well, actually three things. We want it to be able to give our bees, provide them with some water, especially in this hot summer, which is why we kind of rushed this project. So that's the goal, is to create something for them to eat on and feed on, and then other animals if they want as well, and eat up that garden bed, because honestly, for the amount that we paid for all this stuff, we couldn't fill it up with plants any cheaper, and it just kind of gives a little bit of structure to it. So it should work out well. So first thing, let's test this bad boy out and see what it's gonna do. Now this is a 160 gallon per hour pump. Should be plenty, more than enough. And I'm gonna go ahead and turn it down. Got something worked out here. Let's get this. So that's pretty good, huh? So that's at high power, and that's low power. Flip the solar panel over so I don't get totally filthy. This is the one attachment that I do feel like might work out. I don't know. So I did see this, and this has another, looks like a valve on it. So let's see how well this goes. So we'll flip over the solar panel. Now that's a possibility. I like that. Yeah, that might work out pretty good. Before my water runs out of the tube, let's check out this last one. Go up. No way. No, not a fan of that one, so we won't use that. But the reason why is because when these things spit out water like that, they're gonna evaporate a lot of water, and I don't want to have to fill this up all the time. So we're either gonna do the standard or maybe this one. We'll see. But let's get to building. Looking at down there.
What kind of spider is that?
Not a bad kind.
Okay.
Yeah, just a spider. Don't pull that up. That's a yarrow. You good?
So hot. There's an explosion of something that just hatched over here.
Really?
Maybe a termite.
No, that's fire ants, baby.
Is it? Well, they all got wings.
Yeah, they can do that. We're good. So all we did here is just bury this 20-gallon container, and we're gonna leave a little space around it to decorate. So, and then what we'll do is we'll get in there and then we'll put everything in and get it to bubble. All right, now that this is buried, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take my pump, and it's got a filter on it, and I don't have any cheesecloth, but if I did, I'd wrap this just to give it another bit of protection. But all I need to do when I want to change the filter is just pull that out, and then I can just change it. So I'll do that at some point. I'll just have to be a little bit more maintenance, but it'll be all right. So what I'll do is just while this is like this, I'm gonna stick it at the lowest point so it always has water. And we're just gonna use this for now. I think this is all I'm gonna need is just the hose. Run this out. And then I'm gonna take and put this landscape fabric over top of it. And so what I wanna do is I wanna figure out where I wanna put everything at. And so I think the natural slope is this way. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut a hole in here to feed that hose up through it. And it seems like it's kind of fiddle-farty right now, but it's gonna be just fine. And I'll show you why, because we're gonna add the next piece in a second. So take the hose, feed it up. Just like that. And so all this is for is just to keep the debris, leaves, stuff like that from falling inside of it and clogging anything. And then I'm gonna take this hardware cloth, put it right on top. And so luckily this fits right through it. So for right now, there's our hose. Nice and long and sticking in there. This is nice because it's real sturdy. Now I don't know how sturdy it's gonna stay. We may have to do some adjustments. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't totally map this out perfectly, but we will make some adjustments as needed. At this point, if you wanted to, you could just add some rocks on it and be done. But since we want to feed our bees water, give them a place to land and stuff like that, we're gonna add this tray here and we're gonna put this on. And so this will help with, you know, a little bit of pooling water on top and also give it a little bit more of that trickling sound as it drips down. So we'll put this on top and then we're gonna pile the rocks around it and kind of try and get it to where it's gonna be a natural looking waterfall maybe. And to be honest, we may end up expanding this next year, but for right now, this is where we're going. So let's get this dish on there and see if we can't get this thing going. First moment of truth is that. And so that's gonna be just fine. Now my curiosity is gonna be, do I need more rocks? So this is important because it gives the bees somewhere to land. And unfortunately, I can't just dump the rocks on there or else it will break. Now this was $12 and the terracotta one that was a quarter of an inch bigger was $14. So I went for something that was gonna kind of blend in with the landscape a little bit better. So we've got a rough layout done. And what we did is we just kind of laid them all out. I piled them up here. And so the idea is that the water is gonna flow into here and then kind of just overflow in and then recirculate throughout. So what I need to do now is I'm actually gonna come out, and this was just like a scrap piece of hardware cloth I had. And so what I wanna do is I just kinda wanna trim it a little bit around so it's not so big. And then I'm gonna tuck all this in. I'm probably gonna need to get another bag of rocks, but I don't know yet because I do have one more ingredient that I need to add, and that's really specific to us. Now anybody can use it, but it is just specific to us. So what we're gonna add is we're gonna add some sticks and stuff like that, because apparently, if I'm not mistaken, like the bees, which is the whole reason why we're doing this is for the bees, is when that wood starts to decay and smells earthy, then it will attract them to this. And studies have shown I guess studies, I don't know. The hypothesis at least is that the bees will come closer to it and find it based on smell. So we're gonna try and work with that in our favor and just make it look a little bit more natural. And as I sit here and look at it, I'm definitely gonna get another bag of rocks, because even though this tray is nice and all that stuff, I do wanna cover up the rim. So, if you can imagine something like that all the way around, we could do something like that. Even just barely putting them up over it. But we're probably just gonna end up getting more and adding to it. And like all these little ones don't do anything, so we can add to them. But that way it'll kind of cover this up. And once the water starts flowing, you'll see here, hopefully soon, it's gonna look totally different. Once these rocks get wet, it has a totally different look. All right, so I got this cut, at least in the front. I'm not really gonna worry about the back right now because it's kind of a pain. Got all this folded under. And what I wanna do is I'm gonna get some more rocks and put on top of it and see how this hangs to the weight before I start cutting any more, because this is the only piece that I have of this hardware cloth. So now I added a piece of wood here. This is a piece of driftwood we found when we were in the boat not too long ago. And we're gonna add some water and see if we need to make any adjustments. And then we're gonna landscape this little area with what we got. All right, so the big reveal time. Now it's 2 days later, as you can tell, different shirt and all that stuff. We really had to kind of work on this a bit, and I still do want to make some changes, but I'll show you what we've done thus far. I have to take like 20-minute drive to the store to go get something that I want to change, but here's the final outcome. See, we put it right in the middle. We did put some ice plants on either side and a salvia in the back. Here's our little water fountain deal. So what I do want to change about this is these rocks here. So what I did is I pulled everything up and I just created little pools underneath, because essentially what it was is it would leak here and go straight down, and that kind of defeated the purpose of what I wanted to do. So we put a terracotta saucer here that drips into here, and then what drips into here drips here. Now the problem is with all of these big rocks, it defeats the purpose of what we want to do. Oh, and I also put one here so we can get the water to kind of drip down in. So you can see what we got cooking there. Remember, this is like a pollinator friendly garden area. That was the original want for this. So we want our bees to come feed in it. Now these trays that we've created these pools in, the rocks are too big. So what I want to do is actually go and I'm going to get some little pebbles and put in there, so there's more surface area for the water to be, more landing spots and easier access. But for now, I think it turned out pretty good. Never done anything like this before. So this little salvia here will grow bigger, and it should end up being about this big in this area taken up. I do have a very, very teeny weeny hydrangea that I put there. And then these foxgloves, hopefully they're done for the year, but hopefully they're reseeding. So if they don't fill in next year, I don't see any growth, I'll come put some more in next year until we can kind of get a self-sowing situation going on. We do have some bee balm over here. And then just a scattering. The bees love this lavender. And this lavender has been out of control the past few years. So that's been doing really well. And we're just gonna leave that. But a little bit of mulch goes a very long way. And all of this is just leftover coral that I had. I used to have a saltwater tank and I let it go and got rid of a couple years ago. So I just took all the rocks and just kind of went around it. And I had this arch in there, so I put that on there. And I'm actually using these rocks here, hopefully it won't fall apart, to direct the water. So see how it's splashing a lot? We can take it and just set it there, and then that helps direct the water, keeps it from splashing, and now I've messed up my whole situation. And so we want to direct the water down like this and have it drip in, fill in little pools and all that stuff. All right, so a couple things I've learned doing this. One, plan out what you're doing a little bit better than I did. I thought I had a plan, but as I did it and I tweaked it, I spent a good portion of the day yesterday while it was shady tweaking it. So, use some smaller rocks if you want more surface area. I think that's really gonna fix it. And then also the landscaping around mulch is gonna be your friend because it can hide the uglies. You know what I mean? Like I have one corner where the screen's hanging out and all I'm gonna do is cover it up with mulch. I'm probably not even gonna cut it because it was kind of a pain. But Yeah, and then the rocks that are on top of it, which you can do is you can like silicone them down or something like that. So once we get our design in that we want, that's what we're gonna end up doing and just go from there. It's been a couple days, the water has not evaporated, which is something that I was worried about. And my plan is to actually come out here and fill up the water every Monday. So I've got a water access right here. I can turn it on, get some water in there, and we should be good. And so the good news is the cord for the solar panel is about 16 feet. So we have farther to go. I do need to adjust for that because I don't really want it sitting right there. But we actually found that, believe it or not, this is a better spot, even though it's shady for a long time. I came out this morning, I had water trickling a couple hours earlier than I would if I had moved it out to where the sun was. So it doesn't take a lot of sun to get it flowing, but it does take a lot of sun to get that full power. But we're just worried about keeping the water moving and going. And I think it turned out pretty good. You know, as that hydrangea fills in and this camellia over here fills in, we'll get all this area built up and this thing is gonna look really good. The one thing I always tell myself when I do these kinds of projects is it's, you know, you can have instant gratification for some of it, but sometimes you just gotta let it just go and know that it's gonna take time for these plants to fill in, unless you got buku bucks and you can just go buy whatever. But I'm thinking about putting these lantanas in that I have successfully propagated. So we may end up doing that as well. If you guys have made anything like this or want to do anything like that, definitely put in a comment. I'd love to see what you guys have done. If you don't want to dig a hole and do all that, you could simply do the exact same thing that you've seen here, but with like elevated flower pots and just plug the holes up and all that stuff. You could 100% do something like that. I just wanted to sink it into the ground, a little bit more of a challenge, and I think it worked out pretty good.